Welcome everybody to the lunch hour, brought to you by George's Majestic Lounge Happy Hour. I have with me Puritan, Kevin from Puritan, my boy Stephen Ivey, and then the Hip Cafe, Danny and Megan. And we are excited to have a good conversation about the lunch hour and about you guys' place. So let's get into it. Again, I said it before, but like, feel free to just like, this is the most relaxed podcast conversation. This isn't like interview style. So feel free to ask each other questions. Feel free to interrupt me. Definitely interrupt me. Feel free to just have a good conversation. I'm going to start with the coffee, the coffee crew. I want to know, like, for both of you guys, what was it like, opening up a coffee shop in Northwest Arkansas, and sort of like, how did you manage to cut through like all of the other, I mean, there's like two major coffee shop, behemoths in town. And like, how did you guys like cut through the noise of those? And like, what was that whole process like?
Danny? No?
Well, you're a senior here. I may be the oldest, but you've been in business the longest.
10 years? Well, the first thing is that I was like 24, so I was just really dumb. And I had a lot of energy. I think, we opened at a time that we kind of filled a space that was needing to be filled. There wasn't... on Dixon at that point, the coffee was there, but it wasn't. And then as far as craft beer goes, like, because we do that as well, there wasn't a lot of craft beer on Dixon at that point. So, we kind of filled that space of being the all day, open from 7 a.m. to midnight every day of the week. That space, which, on paper,
On paper,
you're like, that'd be great. That's a lot of time to get business, and then you live that, and you're like, man, this is awful.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what were some of those like early hardships that you had to like kind of overcome?
I was there, and I'm sure that Danny and Megan can speak to this too, but I was there, from open to close, for the first few months. Yeah. And just felt like a zombie.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, y'all are still there.
just to the point where I was like, I don't know if I can function in this anymore. Definitely, just the time that it takes to get, systems in place and stuff like that, and get everything off the ground and get employees in there that you trust and that are going to open well and close well and, all of that, just like kind of those initial hurdles of operation.
Yeah. We did that for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Employees for 3 weeks.
Employees for 3 weeks.
COVID.
Wow.
We literally opened up 3 weeks before they started shutting things down.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I'll speak for us. I'm grateful in the sense that we are kind of off the grid a little bit. Our overhead's not quite what it is on, Dixon College, whatever. So we never really had that incredible pressure of a brand new business to just be like hammering it from day one. So having a drive through, and it was her and I for
A long time.
like a really long time, like 20 months of just her and I.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, being able to do that as a business, it's why we're still here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what was that like opening up and like during COVID, and then like continuing like during COVID and watching things close, and what was that whole process like for you guys?
Well, luckily we do have the outdoor seating space, which was
We never had to
very well
close.
spaced out. We have drive-throughs, so we never closed. We were open the whole time. Those things we knew we wanted to begin with, they just ended up like really being very
Critical.
important.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember there was a restaurant forum that was going on for a while. Did you ever get on those calls?
I don't think I did.
It was through Startup
I can't even
Junkie,
remember.
I think, or AS blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they would have their Monday gripe sessions, and,
Yeah.
and I mean, I get it. Everybody was feeling it, but we literally had no time to get on that call, and that was a good problem, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just in the trenches, and I felt like a kind of a peeping Tom every once in a while. I'd read through, and I'm like,
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
worrying about that. But
Yeah.
I bet
Whatever.
your drive-through was what key.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was,
really
That'd be
handy.
nice to
yeah,
have.
So,
yeah, it was.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Stephen, I'm curious. What was, and like I imagine you're still kind of like facing like hurdles. Like I know like the like difficulty of being a musician, being a black musician, doing a genre that's like not like singer songwriter in Northwest Arkansas. Then you're doing gospel music. And I'm curious, what has your journey been, and like some of the hardships of like even finding gigs, of even getting people out to shows, and then even throwing COVID in there. I'm curious, what kind of has your journey been like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first off, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
And I want to say this: I was listening and looking at Kevin while he was talking, and you know, we don't have the same exact glasses, but
Oh, was it?
I'm feeling your glasses. I'm feeling the glasses, yes, sir. After we get done, you're gonna have to tell me where you got them from, because I like those. Man, for me, being a gospel artist, I'm really just trying to lean into that and own that space. There's not a lot of gospel events, first off, and so my main audience becomes church on Sunday morning, which I don't have a lot of that audience because my main Sunday morning job is teaching youth and children. And so hardships for it is just really having my own courage to just step out and do it. And so doing the lunch hour a couple of weeks ago was like, it took a lot of courage and guts.
Yeah.
I was like, man, you know, is this really a gospel event? Because if not, I can throw some soul music in there. And so it's really for me, it's finding the courage, because gospel music is already a secluded or speaks to a specific audience. And, you know, in this day and age, a lot of people have a little animosity, so to speak, some do, with the gospel message. And so it's being courageous, finding my own niche, but mainly being courageous has been the battle for me.
Yeah, the idea of like being courageous is like super interesting, especially to me that's one of the things that like you know when I talk to people and they're like, you know, oh, man, I wish I could be creative or do what y'all do, you know. And it's like really it's like it's just that. It's like first it takes like getting over the hurdle of like yourself of being like, all right, like I'm actually happy with this.
I'm my worst critic.
Exactly.
And people don't understand
Yeah. And I think like once you're able to like get over that hump, then it's like, all right, like now I can like operate and do things. And so like I love that you were able to do the lunch hour, and I love doing this idea of like mixing two worlds that don't seem to go together. You know what I mean? It's like if you're used to like, you know, whatever, like secular music or whatever, it's like I love throwing like something in there that kind of just shakes everything up and it's like, well, wait, how does this fit? You know, and I think gospel is so like universal, even though it's like kind of secluded, it's also like universal.
Message, but the music is expansive.
The music and the feel,
the way it's expressed is because gospel music can be blues, it can be rock, it can.
Well, it is all of those.
It
like,
is.
Rooted in musical history.
I mean, it's like
super cool.
all of the best, like all of those best musicians, like started out in the church. Like they started out playing gospel music, and all the best musicians say gospel music is the hardest music to play. You know. Oh no, you know what I mean?
But I've been around it. So if you hadn't been around it,
and
you're trying to come in and play it or emulate it, it is who I am. I would say that about jazz or classical. If I talk to a classical pianist or a classical opera singer, they would probably say, "Oh, this is easy. You have the tough part." But I think it's a part of what's in you, what you've done. I've done this since I was 6 years old. And so I'm not going to say how.
An instrument?
I play piano.
Okay.
And can I put this caveat here too? Listening to the lunch hour, this is a part of me being my biggest critic. That was, in my estimation, not a really good performance for me. I woke up that morning and I had like a frog in my throat. And so anything that I was able to do, I'm surprised that I was able to do it because it just wasn't my day. And if I could have said like, Jasper, let's cancel it. Like the day of, an hour before, I would have done it because, again, looking back, And Travis, man, I hope you made me sound good.
From the footage that like I record on my phone and stuff, and like just the responses from people, bro, like it was
And
great.
I heard it, and it sucked, in my opinion.
Oh no!
And that goes back to being your worst critic,
Yeah, that's
because
true, yeah.
like everybody that I talked to said, like, man, it was good. Like, I thought the overall energy that day, I walked away feeling like, man, this was a dope experience.
Yeah.
I want to come back and do it again. I got to make it up to the crowd and make it up to myself.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear any negative feedback. But then when I watched it, I was like, I saw some of the stuff that you posted, and I was like, oh my God. This was
Normal though?
That's what I was gonna
It's
say.
very
We all like,
And-
yeah, there's definitely.
And like, to give you a insider into my head or a creative's head, like sometimes that can be very discouraging.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, people like it. That's a good thing. But I'm like, man, if this is what people are hearing all the time, I need to stop singing, because this.
Nah.
And that's real how I felt after I heard the stuff.
Well, I think that's where that courage comes in. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
It's like
It takes courage to do it again.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like on one hand, to me, there's like always like two levels of it. It's like there's this level of like how I want things to go. You know what I mean? How I want things to be, how I want to sound, how I want to do whatever.
Yeah.
And then like, and you gotta, I think as creatives and like, we gotta understand we operate on a totally different level than like the crowd does. Like
For sure.
the crowd like operates on like feelings and like, you know, if it resonates with them.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, in rare moments, those two things align,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? In rare moments, you can be like, all right, man, like, everything went exactly how I wanted to go, and it resonated completely with the crowd. And, like, those are, like, rare occasions. But for the most part, like, I think when you achieve a level of, like, talent and a level of, like, consistency, which I think you're at, like,
Appreciate
even what you might consider bad performances, they're great because
Yeah, I
like
appreciate that.
you've just put in the work to get to that level, and so any audience is gonna walk away going like resonating with something from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think you're at that level, which it makes me curious. Like I wonder like what's the kind of equivalent for that in you guys in you guys' realm.
Well, I was thinking the same thing. I was
Yeah.
like, I understand what you're saying, like jumping out there, having the courage to do it, and like,
Yeah.
you are your worst critic. It's easy to see like, okay, so it's not just doing like food and bev. You have the same feelings.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
A service for people.
That's true, yeah.
Because
it's
we
a
set
service.
ourselves up to be critiqued by
Right.
anybody and
Everybody
everybody
else.
that comes
Yeah.
across our product. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
like, it's a vulnerable space for all of us.
Yeah.
I'm putting what I feel like is my best out, but will you receive it and accept it
Yeah.
as my best? Or what will you think about my product or my work? Because I view my product and my work as being who I am.
Yeah.
It's your everything.
And I'm curious with you guys because like you guys are your menu is vegan, and so I'm curious like what is that like?
That's even more difficult.
Yeah, I know. What has that been like?
It has been pretty interesting here in
Yeah.
Northwest Arkansas. Obviously, it's not the majority of people,
Yeah.
but well received.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had almost every single, even people who we're like, oh no.
Yeah, you
Get ready.
don't, you don't judge somebody coming in 100%.
Because it surprises you every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go to explain that it's plant-based, and I'm like, I know.
Like,
Okay, redneck, okay, fine, just letting you know, right?
And you know, you guys, you market it that way, so like, you know,
Yeah.
people know. I go back and forth, like, so for us, because we're not, you know, specifically vegan, like, you know, when we have a product that is, and something that comes out of our, you know, our kitchen that,
Yep.
that we're making, I'm going, do we want to push that it is vegan,
Right.
or do I just put
Yeah.
it out there as a
Yeah, yeah,
product
yeah.
and
Yeah.
let people, you know, experience that
Yeah.
and taste that it's really good,
Yeah.
and then, you know, for the people that are interested in that, you know, maybe there's a little like label down there on the bottom
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
go back and forth because
Yep.
we've had those interactions with people who are like, oh, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
V word.
Yeah,
it's a
every
dirty
once in a while,
word.
people are backing out when you say that.
Yeah,
but-
they're like, oh God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for that. It's like, no, you are. Just eat it. Like, it's good. Just
Yeah.
eat it.
Right. It's really good food, and I
Yeah.
promise you wouldn't serve something bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why
Yep.
would you do that?
Right.
Do you feel like it turns people away or?
No,
No,
I think
yeah.
that would be like a very tiny, like, very small amount of people who do that. Usually
Yeah.
people are very like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
like I'll try
Yeah,
this.
try
And
it.
then they're like, oh, that was so good. And I'm like,
And even non-plant-based customers that have sort of been with us from the beginning, you can just see them trying more things, right? Like
It
they're
opens their
getting their
minds.
milk latte originally, and now they're doing oat milk. Now they're trying our,
Yep.
breakfast burrito that's tofu, whatever. So
God.
it's been a fun exposure to not
does.
be all scary and vegan, and just
Yeah.
like we're kind of quiet too. Like we don't really say on most of our
Right.
stuff. It's like a
Yeah.
little plant, and
Yeah.
it's our trader, insider
I'm
trader.
pulling up today.
Yeah.
So check it, and I'm serious because like right now I'm on this we'll just call it a diet for right now, where I'm basically eating vegetables and fruit, and I've been wanting coffee. I've been wanting just something, and so to hear that, like I'm pulling up.
Good.
Today.
Good, good,
I'm
good.
coming through.
come see us.
We're
Yes.
kind of the comfort food in the vegan world, though.
Nice.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm a mom,
Yes.
so yeah, I won't say that everything we do is healthy, but it's whole food, it's real ingredients,
Yeah.
and it is comfort food.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our niche.
That's exciting. I love that you just mentioned that you're a mom, because I think now, like and you are dad. Everybody has kids here,
Got a 1-year-old.
Yay!
He's a wild child.
and I'm curious, and this is for you too, Stephen. Like,
Okay.
because I know you got how many kids you have? A few.
A lot?
In my opinion, yes, because all of them are expensive. I have four. I have four.
Pretty good amount of kids.
Yeah, and my oldest
They
is
are expensive.
my oldest and my youngest are the most expensive because she just turned 19 yesterday,
Oh, wow.
and she went back to college, and so
Yeah, that's expensive.
she's in Alabama, and then my youngest is in 2.
Yeah.
My youngest is 2, so there's a big gap, right? So
Yeah.
they're both
The bookends.
in my pocket
All the time.
all the time.
I'm curious, what is the work family life balance been? I mean, you talked about early on having to be there from 7 to midnight.
Couldn't have done
you
it
know.
with a kid in the picture. I don't think. Now, luckily, we're going into our 9th year, or inner 9th year, however you want to say it. So we really do have the ability to kind of pull back a little bit on the work front, which is nice, and spend more time at home. He's in daycare, which people have opinions on that, but whatever. We're both working parents, so everything's got to get done.
Yeah.
So we switch off days of picking them up, and we found a really good balance of how to get them to daycare,
Yep.
and then on the weekends, making sure we spend a lot of good time at home with each other. So it would be a totally different world if we would have tried to open this in the middle of having a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
So learning a lot, learning a whole lot.
What's harder work, though, the 1-year-old or the
Yeah.
business? Yeah. Put that in perspective.
He is in everything.
Yeah.
How about you guys? What have you kind of found that helps in the work family balance?
God, still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Still figuring it out, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My kids are older, and this is sort of round 2 of coffee house for me. So I didn't necessarily do a baby starting a coffee house. Well, I left a coffee house with a baby, brought the baby with me. But I don't know. I mean, that's the perks of owning your own business as
Yeah.
well as, you got a kid in the back, or they're
Yeah.
grabbing a cookie, grabbing that comfort food, just hanging out, waiting for you to get off work. So, you're not doing that in your corporate world, taking your kid to work. So, there's some flexibility there too. But
What about you, Stephen?
I'm a lot like Megan. I'm trying to find that balance, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I do it really well, and sometimes I think it's the nature of what I do. I think it's the nature of what we all do. Sometimes you can be very present, very active, and then sometimes you have to pull away so things can get done. Because not only am I'm also a full-time student, and so being in school, having my job at the church, trying to have some type of a gospel artist career. I'm also a producer. I also have a podcast. I do a whole lot. Trying to juggle everything that I do it's always a juggling act. And so the family life balance, I'm getting better. But I can't say it. You would have to ask my wife how I'm doing. And I think it's just going to be something that it always takes maneuvering and nuance, because as kids get older, with 3 little ones at the house, 7, about to be 6, and 2, all of them have specific needs. And so you're always trying to be whatever they need.
Parts.
Whole lot of moving parts.
What are you studying?
Man, real quick, interdisciplinary studies, which is a mix for me of music, sociology, and communications. And I'm also I'm a double major, African and African American studies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, my last semester, May 13th. Here we go.
No,
May 13th. Like 4 months. 4 months and we out of here.
Man, you are busy.
Yeah, that's
And I just tell you, I'm 35, so being 35 going back to school is totally different than being 25 or 18. But yeah, we good. May 13th, we at the finish line. Home stretch.
Good for you.
And I know we kind of want to go back to the beginning and kind of just hear all of you guys' stories about like, what was the moment in your mind that clicked? Okay, I want to do this. I want to open this business. I want to pursue music. I want to do this. This is what I want to do. Or if you even had that moment, or if you just stumbled and you found yourself, all right, now I own a business. I'm curious, what was you guys' journeys like? Anybody, jump,
I don't really know if there's a good way to just, like a moment to be like, it's just kind of like, okay, we're going to do this now.
Yep.
Just, okay, let's do it. I wasn't really, still trying to figure out how and why that happened. But just timing worked out.
Yeah, and it was a move back. So a little history. Megan worked for me a long time ago in another coffee house, and fast forward 10 years, and now she's my partner in this coffee house. So for her, I think it represented a move back to Arkansas, a little bit closer to family, not here, but for me, originally opening a cafe or a coffee house was because I lived in small town Arkansas and selfishly needed some good coffee in my life. I had
You were
moved
trying to fill a void.
I had.
Nice.
Well, I mean, it was a tiny little town, and I had moved there with a company I worked for, and didn't want to travel with them anymore. So that's how we ended up there, and that's how I met her, and here we are.
I like the idea of literally just filling a void, like seeing that this isn't here, and so I'm going to do it. Which it sounds like that's kind of what happened to you as well. Which what was that like? And I'm curious, both of y'all, what was that like internal discussion? Do I need to do this? Should I wait for someone else to do it, or what made you feel fit to do that, to step out and do that?
We joke sometimes that selfishly we just make what we want anyways. So hopefully you like it, but really ultimately we're here for us. And if we think that tastes good, you might like it, you might not. So I'm joking, but it's true, right? It's that's
true.
what I want every day. So that's what we're going to do.
I love
Yeah. I think for me, if I wouldn't have started Puritan, I would have started something else. I had this itch to go and do something, and coffee and beer were passions of mine and are. They're now at work, but so I had this itch that just really needed to be scratched, and that's kind of it. Just came to a head, and my brother-in-law, who is a business partner of mine, was kind of jokingly how do we keep you guys in Arkansas? How do we keep you from moving away? Because we were going to move, and so we started talking, and one thing led to another, and we were going to open up this other concept, and that fell through. And I went and worked for Onyx for a while and fell in love with coffee, and so it kind of just all happened. And then we were sitting here with a lease in front of us going, are we going to sign this thing? Because if I sign this thing,
It's
we're
real.
on the hook. We got to go and do it.
Yeah.
I think it was because it was just that drive of like, I want to go do something.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, me. My moment. So Kirk Franklin, my mother gets the prize for all because she hipped me to gospel music. She's a singer. I followed her as a little baby, as a little kid. But I distinctly remember, I don't remember what album it was. This is VHS, right? So Kirk Franklin had a VHS, and I think back then he was Kirk Franklin and the Family. He had a little group, and he wrote this song called Mama's Song. And he sat down at a grand or a baby grand, I think it was a grand piano, white grand piano, and he played. It was that moment that I said, I want to be that. I want to be him. And my mom would tell me other moments where I've seen other musicians, but for me, I remember seeing Kirk Franklin, and Kirk Franklin has always been, in some ways, the guy that I wanted to be.
Well, thank you so much thank all y'all for participating in this lunch hour. Again, it was fun. This was a good conversation. This
I
wasn't
enjoyed
scary
it.
at all.
Like, we could have kept going.
We still are going. This might be one of the funnest episodes. So again, thank you to Stephen Ivey, Kevin from Puritan, and Danny and Megan from the Hip Cafe. Thank y'all for participating in the lunch hour, and we'll see you next month.